Hi, welcome to week 7, and we are continuing what we started last week with regard to classes of options. In this case, having a little bit of discussion around the functional level strategies. And I brought them out because it gets a little bit complicated in some of those matrices to try to figure out how you fit each of these functional areas into the NSOF list of strategic options. They kind of all work together, but you can put more emphasis on some functional level strategies as an example in order to increase efficiency or market penetration or market development or whatnot. And by identifying them separately, you have an opportunity to look at them in a lot more detail and make some decisions that might be more depth oriented, better analyzed than they are if you're just looking at some very high level what and how that you might look at under a corporate strategy option. So if I take, for example, in marketing, the idea of changing your pricing structure, that might be linked to the idea of market penetration, or it might be linked to market development. I think what's important here is that there is a next step to think about in terms of implementing the viability of implementing some of those possible how options. And these include, for example, having the correct amount of resources or being able to sustain what it is that you're wanting to launch long term. And again, come back to the Air Canada case where competitor comes in with a lower pricing structure but doesn't have the financial strength to maintain the attack on a larger, more ingrained competitor in the market. They can't sustain in the long run, so then that option is not viable. And so as you consider the various types of functions and what they might do in order to either help differentiate the company, make it more efficient, allow it to gain more market share or develop new markets and so forth. There are a lot of how options under the functional areas to consider. In human resources, you might look at doing a lot of hiring in a certain area, more training and development, so that you provide better quality service. There's all kinds of possible how to consider under these functional level strategies that go beyond what we talked about even at the corporate level strategy last week. So I encourage you to really take a look at that layers of strategic choice and to consider what you need to look at for these options to be viable, because they should fit into some kind of decision matrix going forward in order to make a decision or a recommendation as to what makes sense to do going forward. And again, hopefully you've considered that in your case analysis.